welcome to my video. So in this video I'm going to be talking about NixOS once again, and the desktop environment called Pantheon. It's the default, or it's the official desktop for the elementary OS 8, or just that. Used to be a theme called that on Ubuntu years ago. I think that's where it came from, like, because the trash can and the icons kind of remind me of the old. I remember LXDE used to use a lot of the elementary icons as their default icons with OpenBox. It was a pretty cool little desktop environment. I don't think LXDE exists anymore, but when I used LXDE, I actually made it a desktop kind of similar to this, not entirely, but I done it with BM Panel and some other programs for OpenBox, which was called, I don't know, like My Menu, whatever. You can actually make a keybind and you can set the menu bar where you want it to be. It would just be like a pop-down menu bar of all of my applications, like in a list, which is pretty cool because most of the time when I want to open something, it's something on a dock or in the app menu. So I really do like this, like, simplistic menu. I think GNOME does it pretty good, but I think just having it like a window box like this, I think is great. And you have all your applications in there. So it's basically like your GNOME overview in a menu, like a start menu kind of menu, you know? So it's pretty simplistic. I really like it. Though this is using the last stable version that they had before the release of the new one. So the new one is based on Wayland, or it has Wayland support. So currently I'm using this system in X11, but using, the old Mother Gala stack, which is X11. I find Steam, I'll give one thing that Xorg does really well. It runs Steam client quite well. Like, the window box moves smoothly, like how it would in Windows or Mac OS, but like with Wayland, I noticed like things are glitchy with Steam. I think it's due to X Wayland, the one that's supposed to be replacing X11, the backend. But I think Xorg, since like Steam is really actually built on the more of the X11 stack because of 32-bit. It's pretty good with X11 code. So, yeah, that's part of the good reason why Steam works pretty good. I don't have it open at the moment, but it does work good. I put this system on the latest channel, which is Unstable, because, well, I was gonna keep it on the release, but I want to get the latest Pantheon desktop, which is based on Wayland. So I want to get back on Wayland. I don't want to just be using the, X11 for a long time. It's just for the moment. And I'm just playing around with Pantheon. I think it's a really nice looking desktop. I like the interface. I think having a close button and a max my button, and you just max and minimize stuff on your dock like you would do on a Mac system, which the workflow is kind of reminds you of the good old classic Mac, like Tiger, or Aqua, whatever. Like the Mac OS from, or OS X, it was originally called OS X from the early days. I actually really like that kind of Mac OS system. It was actually a pretty good system. The Darwin system is pretty good. It was pretty good. They changed a lot of things over the years with Mac OS. So I actually prefer Linux, and The reason why is because I can choose my file system. I don't have to just use one file system, Apple file system. So with Linux, I can use more than just that. I could probably actually use ZFS too. It's not really built in as good as FreeBSD has. I think it's due to license, but yeah, because a lot of the Illumis code is on BSD license, so FreeBSD using it is more, it's more towards, it's more like, because Solaris was always basically a BSD system, especially in the early days. Maybe not like the recent Solaris systems, but like the older ones like CyanoOS. But one thing I noticed, like the buttons with the GTK4 theme looks like this, but I kind of find it looks better like this, to be honest. But the original look's supposed to be like this. It's more integrated. You know what I mean? I don't know. Code. That's another program with. I actually like this. It's very simplistic. I like these little apps that this desktop environment has. It's not like over the top. They're pretty basic applications. It just kind of reminds me a lot like LXDE, but more nicer. Like the theme is more nicer, but it has a very LXDE style, and this system is actually pretty lightweight because I'm using like 3.13 gigabytes, but I'm also running stuff with this computer. People might consider that bloated, but if you look at my memory, I have quite a lot of memory. I'm only using 7% of it, so not too bloated. It's a very fully workable desktop. OBS works really great on this. This is behind NixOS, right? This little desktop here. It's like the foundation of the system is NixOS. So I'm using one of the greatest Linux distribution out there, if not the best. Personally, I find NixOS fits the way I use computers when it comes to like a Linux system. Like I find NixOS really targets me a lot. I'm the target user because I like to have the same system on many different computers. You know what I mean? So having that configuration file and just rebuilding your system on all these different computers, it's really, really easy to set up NixOS. And plus installing a lightweight desktop like this is really good. Once they have the Wayland support, I think it's going to be coming pretty soon because I was checking the GitHub source. So I see like something 3 days ago, like they're working on Pantheon - Wayland. So they're probably getting ready for, the latest Pantheon. That's why I went on to the Unstable release because, well, I want to test it out, so I know it will go on the Unstable branch before it goes on to the release branch. If it does go on the release branch, I'm not even sure, but being on the Unstable branch, it would be good. I only have this system set up. All my computer runs Windows 11, so like this computer also has Windows 11, but I'm also have another drive for this system here, which I'm testing it out. And I'm going to be using it. I mean, this is my daily driver. Like, I use this computer a lot. I don't really need Linux on my mini PC, but I probably got to put this Pantheon system of NixOS on the SSD. It has a 1 terabyte SSD that I have nothing on it, so I probably will just pop on a system like this, which is, once again, really easy to set up because of the configuration file. Sets up pretty much everything because I back up all my dot files on my hard drive, where I have like a NVMe enclosure that connects to a USB Type C. So I just basically that's how I copy my dot files. It's all local, which I consider is better because you can't trust the internet, man. The shit goes down, man. Your files are gone. They're not on your computer. I'm an old school guy. I like everything locally stored. And I really like this Pantheon desktop. It doesn't have the system tray, but it has pretty much functional buttons like a GNOME. That basically is all you need. I mean, yeah, can't control OBS from the status icons. There's probably a way to tweak it out, man. I'm sure you can add a system tray onto the wing panel. I probably had done it in the past, to be honest, years ago when I used to play around with this desktop environment. I always liked the desktop environment. When I set up OpenBox or LXDE, it was something like this. I always had a panel on top, had, basically functions, a time, and I always had Plank on the bottom. I usually use Plank like crazy. Like with OpenBox, natively with OpenBox, I would use Plank. It'd be like my dock, man. Because just having the OpenBox system, you don't need a top panel. As long as you have a dock on the bottom where all your applications pin to it, you just launch applications also with key bindings, but you can also do that with this in pretty much any desktop environment. But I find probably the best desktop environment, I think, is this desktop. And the reason why I like it, because it's just so simplistic. It's well done. It really is. It's well done. It's kind of like a Mac, but in a very GNOME and Linux way. It just feels like a Linux system, but you can tell that it's inspired by Mac OS. But this looks pretty good. It has that good feel to it. It's a little different than Mac OS, but it's very Mac OS. But with NixOS as your backend instead of Darwin. But Darwin's pretty good too. I actually rather use Darwin, but I do like Nix. I probably would use Nix with Darwin. You can actually do that. So, but having the real Nix, system right there is great with a nice desktop. I do like GNOME as well, but I just find you got to put all these extensions. Like this here, I don't use any extensions, right? It's just I install it, I set it up. This is how I set it up. I just use dark theme. I got Pantheon tweaks, which you can do a little you can change the color schemes. But I keep it on this color because it matches the icons, because the icons are brown, and that's always been a thing. By default, these are always brown, but sometimes they're blue as well. There used to be a theme for it, but it only has one set of icons. Got the mouse cursor, which is pretty much the mouse cursor, and you get the sound. You can do the fonts. This doesn't have any options. This is pretty much easy. And there's your terminal stuff, but I don't even use the terminal. I use this terminal. But there is a default terminal. It's right here. So that's a default terminal. I don't like the color scheme, but they don't really give you much choice. You got this. You get the light style. Oh, it even changes the color of that. That's pretty cool. So you got that color. It's kind of interesting. What do you mean? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Then you got this. I mean, yeah. I don't know. It's pretty simplistic. Doesn't have to be over the top. You probably can change it all. Probably was like a configuration file. Who knows? I don't know what it's called. Terminal. Fact. Well, anyways. Yeah, that's me just showing you guys Pantheon desktop environment. You know, if you get any edition like the KDE or the GNOME GUI ISO, so when you boot it up, it runs the live desktop of either if you got it with GNOME or if you got it with KDE. I get it with GNOME because GNOME's better, because it's just more lightweight compared to KDE. And but Pantheon desktop environment is actually even more lightweight, and I think it's pretty good. And I think it's going to be better because it will have the Wayland support. Just give it time. But I think that once I do see any Wayland support, I will do a video on of me using this desktop environment under Wayland. But for now, I am on X11, and you know what? I gotta say X11 works pretty good. I ain't got no complaints. You know, Wayland is kind of buggy. I find it actually, well, I mean, X11 has its bugs too, man. It's not glitching application boxes, but it sure likes to not work well with some applications like OBS. But anyways, that's another story. But anyways, hey, once again, thanks for the watch, guys. Until next time, until I find a video that I think is worth making a video, then I'll upload another video. But I just want to talk about this desktop environment. I was about to stop using Nix. I could be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna use Windows and that's it, you know. But then I was like, I kind of like, because I did play around with this desktop environment before with Nix, Pantheon. So, but some of the applications like Discord and Chrome would have, like, even though I have it in dark mode, the window box would be still the light theme. So I need to use the tweaks to force dark style on all applications, and that basically fixed all the applications. You know, it got this cool little workspace switcher, like, so you can just, you know, create many different desktops. You know, you can launch that and basically have another desktop, and you know, it's pretty cool. Then you just, you know, you just switch between it. Keep it fucking simple. That's why I like this desktop environment, because it works pretty good. And yeah, it works pretty good. That's all I gotta say. It just works, just like NixOS. Freaking solid Linux distribution. You know, I really actually like Nix a lot. I'm like, that's the only system I'm interested in. I ignore the politics. I ignore all the politics. I just want to use a good, you know, Linux distribution, and I think NixOS, to me personally, is a good distribution. If you guys want to look for a good Linux system, I recommend NixOS totally, and try it out with Pantheon desktop environment. It's pretty solid system. It's very simple. I like the look. It's very simple. And I like very minimalistic stuff like this. You know, I think, you know, Elementary, whatever they're called, they do a good job with their desktop environment. I keep politics out of software because I don't think it should mix with it. I don't really give a shit. I like the desktop. Straight up. I think it's a good desktop. I think it's lightweight. I think it's simplistic. I think it works really well. And I want to try the Wayland version because I hadn't played with it. I'm not going to download the Elementary OS system because I'm not a big fan of Debian. I just don't want to use Debian. I know it's Ubuntu, but it's still freaking Debian. No, I want to be on NixOS. I don't want to use a package manager to maintain my system. I want to use a configuration file to configure my system and just delete all my stuff all my old rollbacks. I just delete them and I just make new ones because it does get filled up. Because I do build I install everything from my configuration file, so I just basically rebuilt my system up, and so that way I have like a rollback. I can just roll back. I just think NixOS is pretty good. I just like the immutable atomic desktop, the whole restore or rollback. It's very stable. It doesn't break. It works really well, and that's why I like it. That's why I use this desktop environment, because I think it's the best backend to have is NixOS. NixOS is a pretty good distribution, and I hope it stays around for a long time because that's the only system I want to use when it comes to Linux. Anyways, guys, have a good one. Cheers.